Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swananoa Valley. Like last week, that's always a hard one for me to get out. I'm Sally Smith and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. We are a welcoming congregation with no particular creed, but instead are guided by our mission statement, which is on the front of your order of service, and by 8 principles, which are on the inside of your order of service. We like to say that we don't have to think alike to love alike. And what that means is everyone is welcome here, whether you are tall or short, young or old, bald or haired. What else do I usually say? If you have red hair, green hair, purple hair, no hair, you're all welcome here. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism and would like to learn more, there is a white card that's in the back of the pews, and you can take one of those and fill it out, and somebody will get in touch with you in the way that you prefer. Before we get going any further, does anybody have any announcements? I didn't get much this week. Mary has one?
Movie night on the 27th.
Movie night on the 27th.
We'll be watching Crash.
Okay.
And we'll be having wine.
Yes, like we said last week, wine. It's a potluck and it's at 6 o'clock. Is that right? 6 o'clock. Okay. So that's going on. See Mary for more information. It's also in the Current, I believe. So, besides that, I'm going to let you all know this now, rather than during Joys and Concerns. I just want to get it out there so everybody can keep her in your thoughts. Ann Silman, Michael contacted me and said Ann Silman is in the hospital. She has double pneumonia. And what else did he say? She's in the hospital. He went and visited her yesterday, and she was sleeping at the time, and he talked to the nurse, and the nurse said that she had had a pretty rough night with just coughing all night long. But just keep her in your thoughts and prayers.
Her birthday was the 20th.
Oh, okay.
She turned 92.
Okay. So her birthday was the day before yesterday, and she turned 92. Anyway, she's one of our congregation favorites, so just keep her in your thoughts. What else? Okay. It's our tradition here to welcome new visitors, people who have been here once or twice, or people who have been here, maybe came for a long time, but then were gone for a long period of time. Is there anyone on this side who'd like to get up and introduce themselves and tell us where you're from, or go ahead.
Hey, I'm Erin Heinrich. I live in Asheville. I work with Jim Carillon and Fred. I work at Pisgah Legal Services, so I'm happy to be here today, and thank you all for welcoming me.
Okay. Okay, anybody else on that side who's new? Okay, how about on this side?
Ron, Jane, Marcelo, and we've been coming for almost every week for 2.5 months, but I was told that since we're not new, but we're new members, because we just got the packet, talked to Michael,
Did you sign the book?
signed the book.
Sign the book. Okay. You're official. You can sign the book. Welcome. Okay, anybody else? Oh,
Hi, my name is Susie Winfrey, and my husband and I recently moved here from Charlottesville, Virginia.
okay, anybody else, anywhere, either side? Oh, one more.
My name's Alex. I just moved to town a few months ago. I grew up in the UU church, so I'm just stopping by to say hi.
Welcome. Okay, now anybody else anywhere? Okay, I would like to read now our land acknowledgement statement. The UUCSB acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the ancestral home of the Cherokee and of other indigenous people. The Cherokee, through stewardship, understanding, and conservation, survived and thrive in this land. We acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. Okay, if nobody else has anything else to say, please shut off your cell phones so we don't get funny noises in the middle of things, and we will let our service begin.
My name is Jim Carillon, and I'm a proud member, founding member of this congregation, and I'm glad you're all here with us today. We believe in social justice, but we do more than believe. We also act. So the words are in front of us, our opening words, and I'm going to ask you to say them with me. They are, love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is sacrament, and service is its prayer. This morning we have 3 great speakers to talk about service in action. So if you'll join me, let's sing hymn number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath.
If there's one Good morning. The responsive reading is number 512. Or I can just talk loud. Are we okay? We good? All right. We give thanks this day for the expanding grandeur of creation, words known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
We give thanks this day
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
We give thanks this day
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
We give thanks this day
For our human community, our common past and future, hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
We give thanks this day
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
We give thanks this day
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
We give thanks this day
For human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
We give thanks this day
We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds.
sharing our joys and concerns. If you have a particular joy that you would like to share with us, or a concern, please come up to this mic over here and speak your joy or concern, briefly please. And Jackie will light a candle for your joy or concern. So who has one? Someone has one.
Good morning. I'm Maggie Moon. My husband and I, Al, have been through 3 weeks with no kitchen. We're renovating our kitchen, so my joy is that Tuesday they're bringing the countertop, but the concern is the appliances won't be delivered till mid-February. So we're eating frozen dinners out of the microwave and salads and watching a lot of TV at night because we're exhausted. But renovating a kitchen, I know some of you have probably done it before. Raise your hand if you've done it. I want to talk to you how you got through it. It's pretty rough. Thank you.
I have a concern that has an element of joy. Yesterday, my sister-in-law passed away after several years of dealing with cancer, and for the last 6 months it's been very intensive, and my brother has been with her 24/7 in an experimental treatment. And so the joy is that she finally was able to let go. The concern is my brother living without her. So if you could keep him in your thoughts and keep him in your love. Thank you.
I'm Lee Redding, and this is a joy, Jackie. Just on a morning like this in late January, and when you look around our country, it's pretty easy to get discouraged and pessimistic and just want to stay home and, have your own little cave. So my joy is just to be able to come to this little congregation of ours, hear this music, listen to this message, and be reminded that as individuals, we can make a difference in our families and in our communities and in the universe if we just are willing to kind of show up, stand up, speak out, and do what we can.
Whoa. I'm Diane Hutchins, and I have a joy. My oldest daughter, Rachel, is getting married for the second time to a chef. And I can, as a Jewish mother, I'm just filling.
I'm Andy. A few weeks ago I mentioned that several of my neighbors had COVID, and my upstairs neighbors have both recovered. The next door neighbor, who is 89, came home and was determined to recuperate on her own without going to rehab. And she had a relapse, and her daughter took her back to the hospital, only now she has pneumonia. So she is in the hospital, but this time her daughter told me, Mother doesn't get a vote on whether to go to rehab or not. So she will be going, and just keeping her in our hearts and our thoughts.
I'm Mary Soyanova, and I wanted to share this with you. My daughter is raising her granddaughter, who is the child of a drug-addicted mother. This week, we found out that she tested
top 99% in reading and math, and we were so happy.
Hi, I'm Evan, and I've got a little joy that happened yesterday. My son is playing basketball for the winter season, and he's on a really terrible team. Yesterday they played a game and they lost 4 points to 67. And the joy is my son scored 50% of our team's points. And at the end of the game, we were on the drive home, and my son asked me if next year I could be his coach, which I thought that was really cool.
As I said before, I'm Sally. I have a joy and a concern. The concern is I have 3 sons that are grown and are all over the country. My middle son was a heroin addict in high school, extremely bright, testing, in the 99th percentile and stuff, did good in college, but he has been in recovery for about 10 years now, and he's done really well. He discovered yoga. He went to Warren Wilson and discovered yoga, and that kind of changed his whole life, and the school kind of changed his whole life. But I got a really disturbing text from him at 5 o'clock this morning, which is 3 o'clock Denver, or older time where he lives. And he hasn't fallen off the wagon as far as I know, but just from the text, I'm not going to get into details, but he's obviously really troubled still. He's extremely angry at me, and because my husband and I are getting divorced, it's my fault, and so that's the concern. The joy is I called my ex-husband he lives in Denver, at 3 a.m. To tell him kind of what was going on, and he has always been the best with handling these kind of issues with our boys. Not that we've had a lot of issues with the other two are fine, but I talked to him and he just diffused the whole situation, talked to my son and calmed him right down, and I'm just so grateful that he's able to do that and that we are still friends.
Hi, I'm Eileen. I have a concern and a joy. My concern is that I can't find a rescue dog. Now, I'm going to give you what I'm looking for, so maybe someone in the congregation or has a friend or neighbor. Okay. A mixed breed is cool, like a Shih Tzu, Lhasa, Maltipoo, those designer dogs. About 20 pounds, knows housebroken, absolutely. Doesn't bark. We don't want barkers. No barking. I don't want to have to teach this dog the basics, And my joy is that I had Mario, my dog, who passed in May, for 15 years. And he's always in my heart, and I miss him so. So if you hear any little critter out there that needs a home, I'm a doggy mom and waiting for him or her. Thank you.
I have 2 joys as well. As many of you know, Elaine and I foster children, and right now we're doing respite care. Yesterday, I heard from one of our long-term assignments, Jace, and I got a picture of him on a swing with his new mom. And she says, he loves to swing. I taught him. And the other wonderful joy is this weekend, we've had the privilege of hosting a 14-year-old beautiful person, Erin. And Erin happens to be with us today. So thank you, Erin, for being with us.
Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm a new member, and I have something that's a joy and a concern both. So I recently moved here and bought 4 acres, have a little farm, and my joy is that my 82-year-old mother is going to be joining me on the land. in a couple of months, so really excited about that. And the concern is, I've been living there about 3 months now, and there's evidence of somebody coming on the property at night, and I found out from the neighbors that it was kind of a drug area that's been cleaned up the last 2 or 3 years, but the people who were in that house were kind of part of all that, so there's a very negative vibe to the house. It's a fixer-upper. And I've been doing some ritual and dancing and drumming and saging and healing the land. But I just ask for your prayers to help me heal that land so that I can create a sanctuary for my mother and myself and all my critters. Thank you.
And I'll ask Jackie to light one more candle for those of you who did not come up. We care about your joys and concerns too. Thank you. Next is our meditation, and Katie's going to come up and read the meditation before our moment of silence.
The prayer of our souls is a petition for persistence, not for the one good deed or single thought, but deed upon deed and thought on thought, until day calling unto day shall make a life worth living. Moment of silence. Thank you.
To introduce our offering, I share the words of Edward Hale. I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. So in that spirit, we collect this morning's offering. And we're going to hear some fabulous music.
There's an insert in your order of service, and we ask that if you would like to join us in this joyful song, please feel free to sing along.
We shall not be moved, just like a tree. moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. Protect our children's future. We shall not be moved. Protect our children's future. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. Black and white together, we shall not be moved. People of all colors, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the waters. We shall not be moved.
Knowing how much we believe, thank you very much, and thank you all for your contributions. Knowing how much social justice matters to all of us and how we are all engaged in our greater community, not just this Warren community, but the community around us, I thought it'd be a great idea to hear from some of my friends and fellow workers at Pisgah Legal Services. Believe it or not, I've just realized I've been there 10 years as a volunteer helping. And we're going to hear the wondrous work that they do. They've organized 2 particular programs into what they call their Health and Economic Opportunity Programs. HEOP, what a horrible acronym. Anyways, we're going to hear not only from one of their staff members, Katie, not only from one of my favorite volunteers, Fred, but we're also going to hear from Annie, a client who has received help. So our hope is that if you need help, you'll know the kind of people that are there to help you. Or secondly, if you have any social justice hours you want to commit, I can vouch that this is a wonderful way to be a volunteer and work for social justice in action. Let me tell you a little bit about the 3. Katie Alexander is one of the regional directors of the Health and Economic Opportunity Program at Pisgah Legal Services. By the way, we're extending out into all of Western North Carolina now, and she's one of the regional directors, I think for the Central region? Yeah, okay. For the last decade, she's been an advocate for better access to healthcare coverage and was a volunteer, like me, with Pisgah Legal for 2 years before joining the staff last year. Fred Littleton is a retired primary care physician who has lived in Buncombe County for over 30 years. He too has been a volunteer with Pisgah Legal for 4 years, helping consumers with obtaining health insurance through the ACA Affordable Care Act Marketplace and with preparing their taxes. Annie Myers is a local musician and waitress and has lived in Asheville for the past 12 years. By the way, her bandmate Erin is here and introduced herself earlier, and if you ever get the chance to hear their music, do so. She heard about Pisgah Legal through her bandmate Erin and has received help from them with both tax prep, ACA navigation, and even a pesky DMV problem. I'm anxious to hear about that. So without further ado, Katie.
Thank you all so much for welcoming us in here today. We're so grateful to have the opportunity to talk with you all and just talk a little bit about the program that we have and the services that we offer. And a huge thanks to Jim for inviting us and organizing all of this. So I want to start with talking just a little bit about Pisgah Legal Services and what we do at Pisgah Legal. We are a nonprofit law firm that is based in Asheville, but like Jim said, we cover 18 counties of Western North Carolina. And the mission of our law firm is really about fighting poverty, about alleviating poverty. We kind of see our mission as really anti-poverty. And so a lot of the services that we provide are based around that. So on the legal side, we help folks who are experiencing domestic violence get out of those situations. We help people who are dealing with immigration issues. I was just talking to someone earlier who's working on our Afghan project to help Afghan refugees get settled and work through all of the logistics of immigration around that. We help folks who are experiencing difficulties with housing, so if they're going to lose their home, helping them through that. So our legal services are really about kind of starting things upstream, helping people get through issues before they turn larger. But we have a whole other program as well that Jim mentioned, the Health and Economic Opportunity Program, that is kind of more legal adjacent. So we're not attorneys necessarily, but we work within these really complicated laws that have been set up and help people get through that. So the two main services that we work on are access to health insurance and access to filing your taxes in order to get your tax refunds. So the Health and Economic Opportunity Program, the fantastic acronym, I think you meant to say, Jim, of HEOP. We have been doing this work for a really long time. Like Jim mentioned, he's actually been helping people gain access to health insurance for 10 years. On the tax side, we've been doing taxes for several years as well. But last year we had the opportunity to put both of those programs under one umbrella and to really expand our services so we could go out farther to the west, farther to the east, and help more people. So I'll kind of get into the two different aspects of that to get a sense of what that looks like. So on the health insurance side, which we also kind of call our health justice team, we help people gain access to health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. So if you don't have a job that offers health insurance, and if you're not eligible for something like Medicaid or Medicare, then it can be really complicated to go through the system of figuring out how you're going to get health insurance. This year, you could choose from 130 plans on the marketplace. And if you are someone who does not have a background in health insurance, that is a really difficult thing to go through. So what our team of staff and volunteers does is we help people sit down and go through the system, not only of applying for health insurance and gaining access to what are called premium tax credits to help you pay for your health insurance, but also choosing a plan that's right for you. Because a lot of people don't know what a deductible and an out-of-pocket maximum and co-pays. I might be giving you all terrible feelings by saying these words. But a lot of that stuff, that's not stuff that we learn in school. And so our team is there to help people go through that process, help them find the right plan, and help them make sure that they're eligible to pay for that plan. If you go on the marketplace and you don't have access to those premium tax credits to help you pay for your health insurance, it could be anywhere from $400 to $1,000 a month to pay for that, which is out of reach for a lot of people, for most people. So that's kind of our health insurance side of things. We're able to help people get access to the care that they need. And when we think about anti-poverty, health insurance might not quite seem like it fits in there, but it really does. One of the leading causes of bankruptcy in this country and in this state is medical bankruptcy. And so when we're able to make sure that people have access to preventative care, that they can go to a doctor and make sure that they can get checkups and they can catch things early, when they have a safety net of their health insurance so that they don't end up going into medical debt when something terrible happens, it can really be a lifesaver for folks. So that's kind of our health justice side of things. This past year, we were able to help almost 1,000 people enroll in health insurance through the marketplace, and that resulted in $13 million of tax credits. So we were able to help people gain access to $13 million to help them pay for their health insurance, just through those 1,000 people that we were able to help with that. The other side of what we do is that tax side of things. And so we're able to help people file their taxes to gain access to their tax refunds, which for a lot of people can be thousands of dollars. But the tax system is, big surprise, very complicated, very intimidating, very difficult to go through. And so there are many people who are not able to go through that on their own, are not able to pay for a service to help them go through that. But one of the ways that our government tries to help people and tries to get people access to money and extra services is through taxes. So if you did not file taxes in the last several years, you wouldn't have gotten those stimulus checks that we all got. If you didn't file taxes in recent years, you wouldn't have gotten access to the child tax credit last year, which was expanded to be up to $3,600 per child in your household. And so if you're not required to file taxes, which many people aren't, then you might not know that there are all these resources that are out there, all of these refunds that you are eligible for that are sitting on the table for you that you deserve, but you have to go through this complicated and potentially expensive process to do that. So what our team does and what our program does is we help people file their taxes. We really focus on folks who didn't know that they could get these refunds, who haven't filed taxes in the past, so we can help them gain those refunds. One of my favorite stories is a woman who we helped file her taxes, and she hadn't filed in several years, and so she didn't get the stimulus checks, she didn't get the child tax credit. She had several children, and she was not in a great living situation. So she was living with a family member. It was not a good situation. It was a really cramped apartment, not enough room for her kids. We were able to help her file her taxes, and she got a total refund of $17,000. I know, right? I mean, that is life-changing money. So she was able to get an apartment for herself. She was able to fix her car so that she wouldn't have to worry about that breaking down on her when she was trying to get to her job. So this is the kind of help that we can offer people, the kind of services that we can offer people. And I believe last year, over 50 people who we helped were getting refunds of over $5,000. So that can really make a huge difference for folks. Last year, we were able to serve over 900 people with their tax work, and that resulted in $1 million, just over $1 million in tax refunds. That is money that goes directly into people's pockets, right into their bank accounts, or they get a check in the mail, and that turns around and goes into our community. So that's some of the work that we've been able to do with our incredible team of staff and volunteers. Our volunteers, we have 18 volunteers on the tax side who have helped with taxes. We have 14 volunteers who have worked with us on the ACA side, and that's amounted to over 2,000 hours of work that come from our volunteers. And we can't do all of that just as staff. We need our volunteers to help us do that work and to reach out to people and to be able to offer people those services. Because there aren't many other places that people can go for free services where they can gain access to this health insurance and their tax refunds. So we're so grateful for all of our amazing volunteers. If you are interested, like Jim said, in volunteering, please let us know. We always have space for more, and we always have need for more. If you could use our services, if you know someone who could use our services, please spread the word, because we want to make sure we're reaching out to as many people as possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Fred to talk a little bit about volunteering.
Thank Thank you, Katie, and thanks to all of you for welcoming us here today. Are we okay on sound in the back? Good. And thank you, Jim, for setting this up. I'm going to speak briefly about the process of becoming a volunteer, what it entails, and then go into a little bit about why I do it. To apply to be a healthcare navigator, navigators are folks that help people get health insurance through the Affordable Care Act, as Katie just mentioned. You either call the office, I can give you the number because I can recite it in my sleep, or you can go online and fill out the volunteer form. A contact will be initiated, a staff member will interview you, and if the interview goes well, and if you're interested in doing this, it's hard to imagine not going well, you then have to submit to a background check, which is routine these days. Once that comes in, you're approved to start, then you have to learn how to be a navigator, and there's several facets to this, and I'll try to condense them. First is that you have to be certified by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services to be a navigator, and that means you take an online course. It's about 10 hours or so. Well, honestly, for a beginner, it's more like 15. There's 10 lessons that you take online, and there's a test at the end of each lesson. It is not highly technical stuff. You don't have to be an insurance broker or a doctor to figure this out. We onboarded a good friend of mine this year, and she did it totally virtually because we were coming out of the pandemic. She has no background in insurance. She's doing it, and she's doing a great job. But it's explained at a pace that's thorough and slow enough that you're not totally overwhelmed about deductibles and Medicaid and all that stuff. You will learn it. Once you're certified, you have to pass all 10 lessons. Then the staff will set you up with a technique that we call shadowing, where you'll sit in on a number of appointments. The number depends on you, how many you're comfortable with an experienced navigator like Jim. And you'll be there either online or in person and see how they interact with the consumer. You also learn how to use this website, healthcare.gov, which can be a little intimidating at first. In fact, it's still intimidating. And you'll do that for any number of visits until you feel like, I think I've got this. And then you'll tell the staff, well, I'd like to try one on my own. And they'll watch you do this, not just to be there with a red pen and mark down every mistake you made. It's not like that at all. It's to, one, be a resource for you, but just observe you interacting with the consumers and with the website to make sure you're ready to do this. And once they sign off on you, then you're not on your own, but you can take appointments either in person or virtually, either on the telephone, or we can actually do Zoom if you're used to that technique, to start working with clients. That whole process, I would say the learning online, and then it depends on how busy we are, but you could probably figure about 3 months from when you first say, I want to do this, to when you're signed off on and you can start working on your own. But that's the basic education that you have to do. There is at the end of October, right before open enrollment starts. Open enrollment is when anybody can get insurance. You can't do that all year long. I won't go into that now, but right before open enrollment is when we bring everybody together and update them on what's new in the ACA and what you're going to see on the application and what insurance plans are out there. And Katie's right, there really were 130 of them or more, depending on where you live. And you have to recertify every year, but it's basically the same course. They tweak the answer. The material changes because the ACA is a law, and Congress likes to change things. So you do have to go through it, but the recertification doesn't take nearly as long. So that's how you become a health justice volunteer. And again, it's long, it's a little tedious at times, but it's not intimidating, and there's enough time to really learn. For taxes, it's a little bit different, but basically the same idea. You have to pass a background check once you've decided to do it. There are materials that you study, both thick books that you have to hold in hand, but there's also the online resources are fantastic. And this year, actually, Pisgah Legal had their own Katie, it must have been, 4 days this week, where for new volunteers to learn how to work with the tax software that we use. like the health justice volunteering, you don't have to be an accountant or a tax expert or a tax lawyer or something. Anybody can do this. The only experience I had was I'd done my own taxes off and on. You don't have to, there are a lot of returns that, problems that will come up that are out of scope for us, for our program. You don't have to learn a lot of extra stuff. You do have to learn a lot of good basic stuff, which makes sense, about how to ask a person what their filing status is, what forms you need, all that stuff. But the process to learn that, I would again equate that at probably about 15 hours for a new person, because it takes a while to learn how to do this. You have to do practice returns. But again, it is technical because it's taxes, right? But it's not overwhelming, and you have plenty of time to do it, and you can do it at your own pace. That's the other thing. So, and that also requires annual recertification, which I'm going through right now. So that's the nuts and bolts of how to become a volunteer. And I just want to share a little bit why I do this. And of all, looking out here and hearing all of you share your concerns and hopes and things, this congregation, obviously there's a lot of people in there that have social justice on their minds and have helped in many, many capacities over the years, as have I. Of all the things that I've done, all the variety of things that I've done, this is by far the most rewarding. And the reason is that what we do as volunteers in HEOP, that is an awful acronym, sorry. What we do as volunteers is personal and impactful. The personal part, I think, stems from the consumers we work with. Some, certainly not all, but some of the folks that come to us are coming to us from a very bad place. They have concerns about finances. They have concerns about their health care. And these folks, because the interview process with a consumer, whether it's taxes or whether it's in particular when it's health justice, navigator, these are not short appointments. You can spend, particularly if you're new and you're working with someone who isn't prepared, it can be easily 2 hours that you're interacting with them, and it might even be some person you have to call back. You get to know them, and they get to know you, and they take you into their confidence. And there are boundaries which you learn, and some of these we just learn going through life. But you have to, your compassion, your ability to understand and to empathize with folks can be tested, but you develop this warm relationship. It's not exactly like a friendship, because these other elements, and there's a sort of professional barrier there, but you get to know the people that you have really pretty well. And so because you get to know them, when you can help them, you actually share the joy of a zero premium Blue Cross plan or whatever, or a $6,000 tax return. And it's impactful. And I think to illustrate that, Katie just gave us some fantastic numbers. I mean, $13 million for premiums. That's a lot of health care. It's paid for $1 million in tax returns. So I'm going to just give you 2 examples of folks that I've worked with. One, I'll call her Mary. I've worked with her now for 3 years. Mary came to us 3 years ago. Her situation was that her husband was severely disabled from mental illness, and their only income was his Social Security check. Her adult son had severe autism and was nonverbal and could not be left alone. So her work, what she could do for her work was she could clean a business that her sister owned, and she could work in a stable near her cleaning, with the stipulation that she could only take jobs where her son could come along with her, because she had to keep an eye on him. And she said, I'm just desperate. My husband has Medicare. Her son is on a separate program getting SSI, so he gets Medicaid. She says, but there's no care for the caregiver. And she had some health concerns. She hadn't been to a doctor in years. She didn't know, just because the health care, the ACA, a lot of people don't know about it. She didn't know that her husband's Social Security income counts as income. So because she made less than 100% of the federal poverty level on her own, which unfortunately in North Carolina means you can't get health insurance, but if she added in her husband's Social Security check, she hit the sweet spot, and she got a great plan for zero premium the first year. It was a little bit more the next 2 years because Blue Cross some things changed, which I won't go into. So I worked with her this year, and as we were finishing up, she said, I just want you to know, because every time you deal with her, she's very thankful and says, I don't know what I do with that Pisgah Legal, I don't know what I do with that you, and you get to know a little bit. She sent me pictures of her son, this kind of stuff. She said, after my last visit, those symptoms I've been having, I had to go see the doctor several times, but I have a rare but treatable chronic health condition that requires me to go to the Mayo Clinic twice a year. And a lot of coordination with specialists in state. So if I didn't have health insurance, I couldn't do any of this. So that's sort of profound. The other one is not as long. This was a tax consumer I help, and it's a lot of like what Katie mentioned. This gentleman was a picker, and he worked in Henderson County, an agricultural worker. He would pick apples and so forth. Whoops, sorry about that. He would travel, but his annual income was $10,000. He had 2 children at home, single parent. He hadn't filed in years because he didn't think he had to, and strictly speaking, he didn't. But he missed out on the stimulus payments, the earned income tax credit, the child tax credits. So he came in with, they were easy returns to do. He did 3 of them in less than an hour because he just had the 1 W-2, and his Social Security numbers. He walked out with almost $5,000, and we didn't give him the check, but he was going to get it. Come on down, yeah, right. So, $10,000. Oh, by the way, you're getting $5,000, 50% increase in your income. You can't put a price on that. So, personal, impactful. The most, it's a lot of work, but it's the most rewarding for those reasons. And the other reason is the support you get as a volunteer at Health Justice is second to none. It is fantastic. I get to work with people like Katie and Aaron every day. The support you get when you're doing an appointment, they're always there to help, whether it's on the phone or whether it's just down the hall if you're doing it in person. You just can't, you're never intimidated because if they can't help you, which is rare, they can always find someone that can. So you never feel like you're left out there, whether you're in person or whether you're going from a remote site. And the other thing is, because we all kind of work hard and get together somewhat regularly with, the conference for open enrollment, stuff like that. And we have meetings every week during open enrollment. The camaraderie with the volunteers. I also get to work with Jim every day during open enrollment. So I hope what you're getting is a sense of community that we have, and that's what really makes it special for me. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what it takes, and we hope that you'll consider joining us and why I do it. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us this morning, and I want to thank Jim and Katie and Fred for giving me the opportunity to thank Pisgah Legal for all the help that they've given me. As you heard, I'm in a band with Miss Erin Keinert here, and she was the one that first introduced me to Pisgah Legal when I was looking for health care back in 2020. In December of 2020, Erin helped me find an affordable health care plan, and then conveniently 3 months later, I fell from a 13-foot ladder and cracked my hip in 2 places. So this was totally unexpected. And luckily I had just gotten health insurance 3 months prior. So without health insurance, this completely unexpected accident would have crushed me financially. I was in the hospital for 4 nights, and my health insurance not only covered the majority of that, but also a month of outpatient physical therapy afterwards. So I was taken care of and very, very grateful. The next year, talking about my DMV issue, I won't get into the details to spare you from going into the DMV, but basically a restriction was unnecessarily put on my license to where I couldn't renew it. And I don't know the terminology. I was on the phone with Raleigh and different people at the DMV to try to correct this mistake. And I wouldn't have thought to reach out for help because I couldn't afford a lawyer. But I received free legal counsel from Mr. Ed Treat at Pisgah Legal, who got on the phone with the right people and said the right words, and the next time I went to the DMV, it was taken care of. So that was a little miracle in itself. And then I'd had bad experiences filing my taxes on my own. I don't know if any of you have done that, but I made a couple mistakes. And so for the past 2 years, I've had help from the people at Pisgah to file my taxes. And I'm very grateful for the services they provide. I'm in a much more stable place financially, thanks to the help they offer to single income households like mine. And yeah, I just want to say thank you and thanks for having me speak. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm inspired again. I hope you are too. We're going to do the closing hymn, and then we'll have some final words after the hymn. Given the hour, we have a lot of joys and concerns to share this morning, so that was great. But we're going to sing just verse 2 and verse 4. So we're going to hear it through once by Sue, and then we'll sing verse 2 and 4. Join me at 128, For All That Is Our Love. Our closing words today, I thought were appropriate, both from Dorothea Day and Margaret Mead. Dorothea Day says, "People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do." And Margaret Mead's famous saying, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Thank you all.